T1/E1 and T3/E3. In the context of the evolution of transport networks we discussed, T1/E1 and T3/E3 represent the foundational digital pipes of the early era. These technologies were the first to move the telecom world away from analog circuits toward the digital systems we use today. T1 and E1, the standard digital trunk developed in the 1960s by Bell Labs, these were designed to replace bulky bundles of analog copper wires with a single digital stream. Regional difference: T1 is the North American/Japanese standard, while E1 is the European/international standard. The DS0 unit, both use the DS0, digital signal 0, as their base building block. A DS0 is a 64 kilobytes per second channel, exactly enough bandwidth to carry one uncompressed digital voice call. Multiplexing: they use time division multiplexing, TDM, to slice time and give each voice call a dedicated slot. Feature: T1, North America/Japan, E1, Europe/International, bitrate 1.544 Mbps 2.048 Mbps, total channels 24 channels, DS0S, 32 channels, DS0S, voice channels 23 or 2430, 2 reserved for signaling/sync, media 2 pair twisted copper, 2 pair twisted copper or coaxial T3 and E3, the high-capacity superpipes. As businesses grew and needed more than just a few dozen phone lines, carriers introduced T3, also called DS3, and E3. These are essentially bundles of T1S or E1S multiplexed together. T3, DS3 comprises 28 T1 lines. It provides 44.736 Mbps of bandwidth. Historically, this was the gold standard for large corporate headquarters or internet service providers before fiber optics became cheap. E3 comprises 16 times 10 to the power of first lines. It provides 34.368 Mbps of bandwidth. Interestingly, while an E1 is faster than a T1, an E3 is actually slower than a T3 because it bundles fewer lines. Feature: T3, DS3, E3, bitrate 44.736 Mbps 34.368 Mbps, equivalent capacity 28 T1S, 672 voice channels, 16 E1S, 480 voice channels, common connector BNC, coaxial, BNC, coaxial. Why are they still relevant in 2026? While you won't find a T1 line in a modern home, these technologies are the cockroaches of the telecom world. They simply refuse to die out in specific sectors. 1. Legacy infrastructure: many physical security systems, old PBX, office phone systems, and industrial SCADA networks in power plants still run on these hard pipes because they are incredibly stable. 2. Fractional services: you can still buy a fractional T1, which gives a business exactly channels of 64 kilobytes per second for specialized equipment. 3. Modern emulation: in modern 5G or fiber networks, we use circuit emulation, CES, to wrap these old T1/E1 signals inside modern Ethernet packets so that old equipment can still talk to a modern core. To understand how T1/E1 and T3/E3 fit into digital hierarchies, you have to look at them as the Lego bricks of the telecom world. They are organized into a strict pyramid structure called the plesiochronous digital hierarchy, PDH. As the network evolved, these older bricks were eventually integrated into the modern, faster synchronous digital hierarchy, SDH. The PDH pyramid: the old way, in the PDH era, you created higher speeds by stacking lower speed lines. However, because each level was only almost synchronous, plesiochronous, the timing was slightly off, requiring bit stuffing to align them. North American hierarchy: T carrier, DS0, 64 kilobytes per second the base unit, 1 voice channel. DS1/T1, 1.544 Mbps 24 DS0S bundled together. DS2, 6.312 Mbps 4 T1S bundled together, rarely used as a standalone service. DS3/T3, 44.736 Mbps 7 DS2S, or 28 T1S, bundled together. European hierarchy: E-carrier, E1, 2.048 Mbps 30 voice channels plus 2 signaling/sync channels. E2, 8.448 Mbps 4 E1S bundled together. E3, 34.368 Mbps 4 E2S, or 16 E1S, bundled together. Integration into SDH/SONET, the modern way, when fiber optic SDH, Global, and SONET, North America, took over, they didn't throw away the T1S and E1S. Instead, they created containers to carry them. Think of an SDH STM1 frame, 155 Mbps, as a large cargo ship. Inside that ship, there are standardized shipping containers called virtual containers, VCS VC11, a container specifically sized to hold one T1 signal. VC12, a container specifically sized to hold one E1 signal. VC3, a larger container that can hold one T3 or E3 signal. Because SDH is perfectly synchronous, a service provider can look at a massive 10 Gbps fiber link and see exactly where a specific T1 container is located. In the old PDH system, they would have had to unmultiplex everything, like opening every box on a truck, just to find one signal. Comparison of the two hierarchies feature PDH, T1/E1, T3/E3, SDH/SONET, STMN/OCN, synchronization independent clocks, plesiochronous, single master clock, synchronous, extraction must demultiplex entire stack at drop a single signal easily scalability hard to go above 140 Mbps scales to 400 Gbps and beyond standards regional, US vs Europe vs Japan, global standard why this matters today even in 2026, when a bank or a government agency asks for a clear channel T1 for security, the telecom provider usually doesn't run an old copper wire. Instead, they provision a VC11 container inside their modern fiber network and deliver it to the customer's legacy equipment. Framing of T1, E1, T3, and E4 To understand the framing of T1, E1, T3, and E3, it helps to look at them as a series of nested boxes. Each frame defines how bits are organized so that the receiving equipment can tell where one conversation ends and another begins. T1 framing, the North American model, a T1 frame is exactly 193 bits long. This is calculated as common framing formats, D4, superframe, SF groups 12 frames together. The 193rd bit of each frame follows a specific pattern that the receiver uses to stay synchronized. It supports robbed bit signaling, where the 8th bit of every channel in frame 6 and 12 is stolen for phone call signaling, like off-hook status. ESF, extended superframe the modern standard. It groups 24 frames together. It splits the framing bits into 3 functions, synchronization, 6 bits for alignment. CRC6, 6 bits for error checking, allowing the carrier to see if the line is dirty without taking it out of service. Facility data link, FDL 12 bits that form a maintenance channel for sending alarms and performance data. E1 framing, the international model, an E1 frame is 256 bits long, and it operates very differently from T1. It doesn't add an extra bit at the end, instead, it dedicates entire time slots to management. Time slot 0, TS0 used for framing and alarms. It alternates every other frame, even frames, contain the FAS, frame alignment signal, a fixed pattern, used for synchronization. Odd frames, contain the NFAS, non-frame alignment signal, which carries yellow alarms and national use bits. Time slot 16, TS16 dedicated to signaling. Unlike T1, which robs data bits, E1 puts all the phone signaling, dialing, ringing, into this specific slot, leaving the other 30 channels as clear channels. CRC4 multi-frame, for better reliability, 16 times 10 to the power of first frames are grouped. This adds a cyclic redundancy check to TS0 to detect errors. T3, DS3, framing a T3 line, is much more complex because it has to multiplex 28 T1s. A T3M frame consists of 4,760 bits divided into 7 subframes. M13 framing, the traditional method. It uses specific bits, called C bits, to track stuffing. Because the 28 T1s might have slightly different speeds, plesiochronous, the T3 line occasionally stuffs an extra bit to keep them in sync. C-bit parity, the modern standard. Since modern networks are more stable, the stuffing bits aren't needed as much. C-bit parity repurposes these bits for path parity, error checking, FEBE, far-end block error, and a management data link. E3 framing E3, usually follows the ITU-TG.751 standard. Structure, an E3 frame is 1,536 bits long. Overhead, the first 12 bits are the frame alignment signal. Following this are bits for alarms, A-bit, and national use, N-bit. G.832, the modern E3 a less common version designed to look more like SDH. It uses an 8-bit header for more advanced management, including trail trace, naming the circuit, and error monitoring. Comparison summary technology frame size management location error checking T1 193 bits the 193rd bit CRC6, in ESF, E1 256 bits time slot 0 CRC4, multi-frame, T3 4760 bit C bits and F bit C bit parity E3 1536 bits first 12 bits BIP8, in G.832.